I've been reading an article by Matt Goodwin, who I think is an intelligent and interesting person. I'm sure we wouldn't agree on the majority of things, but he writes beautifully. And let's begin with something obvious but increasingly forgotten. There are more than 100,000 asylum seekers in the UK today. They come from war zones, failed states, places where freedom of speech, religion, bodily autonomy simply do not exist. Some are here because Britain helped cause the instability they fled. Most are here because they had nowhere else to go. Some are here simply because they speak English. Now consider this. If even 3 of these people have been accused of violent crimes, that is both tragic and statistically, and here is the sad, regrettable and unmistakable fact, it is statistically unsurprising. No group of 100,000 people is entirely devoid of wrongdoing. There are bad apples in every orchard, British ones included, but when Farage and Reform use isolated criminal cases to stigmatise the entire asylum-seeking population, they do something far worse than mislead, they dehumanise. They turn a minority of alleged perpetrators into symbols of the whole. That is not government, that is not politics, that is scapegoating, and it follows a dark, familiar pattern. Today we speak of asylum hotels, that soulless bureaucratic phrase used to warehouse human beings out of sight, out of mind. But let's call it what it is. Let's call it what it is. A ghetto. A modern ghetto. The word ghetto has its origins in Venice, where in 1516 the Republic confined its Jewish population to a walled island locked at night, policed by fear and defined by exclusion, and the purpose was to isolate, to mark off, to create a moral quarantine. Jews are free to exist, just not too close. Does it sound familiar? What Farage and Matt Goodwin do, wittingly or not, is recycle that same logic. They look at 3 alleged crimes and declare that asylum seekers are, as a group, inherently dangerous, deceptive and un-British. They paint the whole community with the sins of the few and say, keep them away, they don't belong. But the real issue isn't crime. The crime rate among asylum seekers is not higher than among the general population. In fact, it's typically lower. People living under constant threat of deportation with few rights and fewer prospects tend to be cautious, not violent. No, the issue here is identity and othering. It's the politics of othering, of constructing an enemy within, and that is why Farage is so eager to conflate asylum seekers with criminals. Even when the evidence doesn't support the claim, it feeds the narrative, it keeps the outrage machine ticking. And as for calling people illegal migrants, that's about Suella Braverman's law, the illegal migration law and the nationality and borders law and the Rwanda law. These laws should never have been passed, and these laws should have been repealed by this present Labour government. This present Labour government is in hoik to the former Conservative government and to the Suella Braverman nonsense. This is all about ghettoising and othering a particular community. Matt Goodwin's recent essay exemplifies the logic in its purest form. It's not an argument, but a manifesto. He sets up reform as a revolutionary movement, daring to take on a decadent elite. He even offers a pledge card, a loyalty oath for new defectors, and at the top of that pledge a promise to end mass immigration and leave the European Convention on Human Rights. These are not policies, they are purges. They are a purity test dressed up as politics, and this is the problem. Goodwin's entire pitch is that reform must remain uncompromised, that the party must avoid contamination by liberal thought, political moderation, or the rule of international law. He warns of dilution. Well, where have we heard that word before? The dilution of the blood. I mean, what's the ghastly person who writes the books about wizards? J.K. Rowling. Even J.K. Rowling talks about half-bloods. But what Goodwin really fears is nuance. He doesn't want a movement that wrestles with complexity. He wants an army, and in that army there can be no refugees, only threats. So this is not conservative, it's not patriotic, it's not even populist in the true sense of the word. It's dangerous. It's tribal, with a ballot box. It's politics of the mob. Consider this. When 3 Englishmen commit horrific crimes, Wayne Couzens, David Fuller, Thomas Mayer, we do not accuse the white English working class of being collectively depraved. We do not demand pledge cards from all Tories. We do not call for white English communities to be dismantled or surveyed. And yet, when an Afghan or an Eritrean or a Sudanese man is accused of assault, entire hotel populations are smeared as predators. The hotels become targets, the people inside them become statistics, and the media, particularly those sympathetic to reform, lap it up. This is not journalism, this is incitement. And what we are seeing here is not a debate about immigration policy, it's the weaponization of fear. It's a retreat from justice and an abandonment of moral principle in favour of political gain. If you want to see what that looks like, look across at Moscow, where the repression is becoming ridiculous, where taxation is becoming ridiculous, where butter is hard to access, where people listen to you in cafes, where you're frightened of using the internet, where if you go down to Rostov-on-Don there is no internet. I want to end with a word on the real cost of this rhetoric. Every time a Farage supporter tweets about illegals or parasites, a child in an asylum hotel feels more ashamed. Every time a Reform councillor shares a rumour about asylum seekers raping our women, another window is smashed. Every time Matt Goodwin talks about un-British ideologies without defining them, he creates space for violence. And violence, as history teaches us, never stays in the margins. It begins in ghettos. Whether you call them ghettos or whether you call them hotels, it ends in flames. Let's not pretend that our hands are clean if we stay silent. Let's not pretend that Farage's language is new. We've seen this playbook before. It was wrong then, and it's wrong now.